16U title solidly in the Muddy River camp, but we had an interesting path to that conclusion, and we'll talk about that on this show. Coming up this weekend, we've got 18U and 14U tournaments in Hattiesburg. Are we in for any surprises? We'll discuss that. It's championship week in the MSAHA, and we've got a myriad of guests and co-hosted by the one and only Ollie Hammonds. This is a good show. This is the championship week edition of the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. It begins right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show, the Championship Week edition. Today, January 31st, 2024. We are looking forward to this weekend. Starting tomorrow, we've got the MSAHA playoffs right here on the TSJW network. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're looking forward to getting that started with you tomorrow. So please be sure to go and hit the subscribe button to the TSJW network YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button right now. Also, check out the website, tsjwnetwork.net. That's where all the scores, standings, and schedules are, as well as running articles. We've got 2 columns that were posted this week. As a matter of fact, we got 3 articles posted this week. So you go on there right now and check those out as well. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at TSJW Network. Go ahead and give us a follow there as well. And so if you want to follow what's going on in the playoffs overall, you can look on the TSJW Network YouTube channel, tsjwnetwork.net/playoffs, and you will be able to keep up with what's going on in the brackets. We have live brackets there on the website there, so please be sure to check that out as well. So last week we had 16U tournament, and we will be bringing on, of course, our co-host Ollie Hammonds right now, bringing Ollie on. Good to have him back. Ollie Hammonds, man, thank you for joining us today on the Championship Week edition.
Well, folks, as you see, when it gets crunch time, it gets to the time whenever championships are being talked about. Trellis brings on the 3-time state champ, and that's me, one of the founding members of this show. And some would say the whole reason why you watched this show.
Yeah,
so I'm glad I'm glad that I'm back to, viewership kind of going down, bringing it back up this week.
I see. Yes, absolutely. Well, look, when the crunch time comes, you got to get your go-to guy. So I had to bring the go-to guy here. Yes, absolutely. So this week, we this past weekend, we had the 16U playoffs. That was in the Jackson area. The Muddy River Counselors were able to win the 16U boys championship, and the 16U girls championship. They didn't have a tournament because none of the other teams could formulate a team to compete with the Laurel Lady Hawks. So they basically just said, here, just take the trophy. We don't really want to step
That's
to
how
that.
You've had a pretty good season.
They lose a game, and they were just given the trophy. You know what I mean? Just so that's definitely what happened there in the 16U. We'll actually talk to Coach Sean later on in this show, talking about his 18U girls team, which is in a very similar situation, except the 5 other teams have come to compete with them for that one. We'll talk to him about that tournament coming up as well. But things are getting interesting in the 18U field, you have to say, especially between the seeds 2 through 4. You had the PCA Paladins, Hattiesburg Forerunners, PCA winning that ball game 44-40. But then Hattiesburg turning around and dropping a game on the road to Laurel by a score of 52-47, and Laurel getting their first big conference win of the season. And so Laurel, Hattiesburg both at 5-5 in conference in the standings. Hattiesburg, Laurel had beaten Meridian twice and Jackson twice, and they were able to beat Hattiesburg that time. Hattiesburg, same way, beat Meridian twice, Jackson twice, and have beaten Laurel once. They've split those 2 games. Hattiesburg had the tiebreaker with a 23-point win as opposed to a 5-point loss. So Hattiesburg holds that 3 seed. So Ollie, when you look at those standings, look at those matchups that we have for 18 boys, what are you thinking when it comes to, as the season starts to close, Laurel kind of showing some strength here?
Yeah, I think whenever Laurel came into the season, winning and being this competitive was going to kind of be icing on the cake. I don't want to say that they weren't good. They showcased that they're a good team, but they're extremely young, and there's something
Yeah.
to be said about experience. I'm not much of a player, but they did lose a lot of guys like me who had played in the system for years, and then they have a lot of young players stepping up, young players to the organization as well. Some guys who had played before but had never played on a competitive team, you could say. But
Yeah.
man, they in my opinion, they have overachieved a lot. And you come in, you beat Hattiesburg at home. You have great play from really everybody. I really, when I was at the game, when I watched the game, I never once said, if Hattiesburg had just shut down so and so, they would have beat
Yeah.
Laurel. Laurel really shared the ball well, and I think that also comes from their maturity together. So that's the thing about Laurel. In 2 or 3 seasons, they're going to be a juggernaut because they're going to have matured together and played together for so long that players like Brock, who are, you could say now a star, become a
Yeah.
superstar. Start averaging a lot of points. People like Ethan Beach, Hollingsworth, those guys sort of grow up together. They just make this great team. So I think they've overachieved this season, but I think that just shows where they can be.
For sure. And looking at the 16U boys field, of course, the first round was the Hattiesburg Forerunners and the Jackson Victors. It was a 3 versus 6 matchup, a game in which the Hattiesburg Forerunners outlasted the Victors. Victors had a tough start, going down 15-2, and it kind of ended up being the thing that ended up getting them, because in the end, Hattiesburg won 55-45 in that ball game. So Hattiesburg went on to the next round. Meridian Laurel, thriller overtime game, 43-41 win from Meridian over Laurel, an upset win for Meridian, getting them to play the Muddy River Counselors. Hattiesburg and PCA played. PCA was the 2 seed, and PCA dropped that one to the Hattiesburg Forerunners 42-33. Hattiesburg getting to the championship. The Counselors 89-31 win over Meridian. So the Counselors kind of all season long kind of were able to run the table in 16U. The championship game had the Muddy River Counselors winning 69-22. So they're able to take the 16U crown for the first time in 3 years, a game in which you actually played in 2021 16U championship. How much do 16U championships mean to a team like the Muddy River Counselors, who are doing well kind of in all the divisions as well as 18U?
I mean, every championship means a lot.
Yeah.
It's something that can sometimes be lost. Well, we didn't win the 18U boys championship. Well, if you won another championship, that also means a lot to your team as well. Muddy River, sort of one of those teams where this was like the first season where you could say that, you could almost say a dynasty has begun to a degree, because a lot of those guys will be back in 16U, and they're the clear favorite in 18U. So it's one of those things where for them, it's almost like they can almost plant the flag on that championship and say, that's where we started the dynasty of championships. So it's a big deal for them, huge deal for them. A lot of other teams, I know I'm probably going to go a little bit off track. Like, as a baseball fan, I watched for years, and the Baltimore Orioles were terrible. They lost 100 games every year. They were awful. But then they kind of built up this young core, and last year they won almost the most. I think they were like 3rd in all of baseball, maybe 1st in the American League with the most amount of wins, over 100+ wins. A lot of teams at the lower levels of the 16U boys championship tournament sort of remind me of that type of thing, where they didn't really have a lot of success, but they're a young core who will be successful in the future. Laurel, Meridian, Jackson, sort of that same way. So I think that while, it's great for Muddy River to sort of say our dynasty began here, I think it's one of those things where Laurel, Meridian, and Jackson say, that was the foundation of what we will be in the next 4 years.
And so turning the attention to this upcoming weekend, we've got 3 different tournaments happening. 18U got boys and girls. And 14U, we got 1. We got boys. Don't have a 14U girls tournament. We got a 14U boys tournament. And looking at that pool of teams, the Muddy River Counselors, of course, back-to-back defending champions from the last 2 seasons. They're the number 1 seed. The Jackson Victors sitting at the number 2 seed. And now, which is interesting, well, it's to be expected because the Jackson Victors last year were in the championship game against the Muddy River Counselors. That was the championship game, and they led early in that game before the Counselors were able to come away with the championship. And so it's very interesting to see that they hold that number 2 spot. And so then the 3 spot, I do believe, if we look at this again, with Laurel, Meridian at 4, Scott County at 5, PCA at 6. Now PCA sitting at that 6th spot, mainly just because they haven't played any games. They haven't played any conference games at all, so they're 0-0. So they start out with the 6th spot. But I mean, as you know, PCA will always make things interesting because PCA is a premier organization in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they'll play that little trick. Well, we're the last seed because we haven't played it all, and then boom, they come out and win the tournament. But I love them PCA people. I think that Jackson once again really showing that they have promise for the future. This 14U team is stout. It's stout, especially when they're going up against a team like Muddy River, who once again clear favorites. I mean, they're the clear favorites in every division. But simply because they got players on 18U who are also playing 14U. You know, that's almost unheard of. I don't think anybody in the conference who's been here for any amount of time has ever seen anything like this. You know, some would say this Muddy River team's better than the Jackson Victor team that had this guy who, you know, nobody's really heard of anymore. He goes off, he does some media thing, plays with Mississippi College, gets kicked off the team. You know, some would say that this Muddy River team's better than that Jackson team. But you know, I think like you said, it's no surprise that Jackson's in that championship game. But I think it's crucial for them to be competitive in that game.
Yes, for sure. And so the Jackson Victors definitely looking good. And this year they actually had to restock because last year they were in the 14U championship game and they had guys like Ray Ware, Asa Holden, Thomas Nicholson, those three guys playing 14U last year. And all 3 of those guys too old for 14U now, and now you get another crop. Daniel Cornelius still on the team, as well as his younger brother, who's kind of coming more into his own as a player in the games. Even though he's a young player, Caleb coming in as well. Finley James also coming along. Titus Miller, another player, as well as Winston Harrington. And so these guys are starting to come up and get better. We're going to talk to Coach Cornelius in a second, but I think you're about to say something.
Well, yeah, and I was about to say, you know, that Jackson Victor's organization, some things are organizational, and the way that they teach the game of basketball is very organizational. They're very good at the fundamentals. I mean, they might not have a bunch of all-stars on their team, but they're very fundamental and they're very sound. And if you'll notice, when you look at them, no matter what their record is, they're in a lot of games. And I think that that's a big thing, and they start that at the 14U level. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter who's on the court for them at the younger levels. They're going to teach them the fundamentals, and they're going to be successful because of it.
Yes, and we're going to go ahead and bring on Coach Gerald Cornelius of the Jackson Victors. He coaches the 14U, 16U, and 18U boys there with the Victors, and we'll bring him on the show right now. We are very glad to have you, Coach Cornelius. Your first game tomorrow, you take on the winner, I do believe, of Laurel and PCA. So you play the winner there as the number 2 seed. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Charles.
Absolutely. My first question for you is that going into this tournament, I know that this was probably a big target for y'all. Y'all are playing in the 18U, of course, as well. Y'all are able to grab that 5 seed after defeating the Meridian Flyers by 23 points the other night. But I know that this 14U tournament's a big one for y'all because y'all have really been able to do well. 12-3 overall record with an 8-2 conference record. Just kind of take us through what this tournament means to y'all and kind of how y'all are preparing for this tournament this weekend.
Well, yeah, this tournament means a lot to us. We've been working all year with the younger guys. They've been competing hard in every game they played in. And so, like y'all said earlier, this is kind of the foundation of what we're trying to do here at the Victors. So we're ready to go. We know the importance of coming out and, like Ali said, competing in each game. And so we just want to come out and leave it all on the court, play good basketball, be competitive. You know, we know we've lost the Muddy Rivers in the 14U twice this year. And so we would love to get back in that championship game and try to put forth a better effort than we have previously.
I think Trellis locked up.
That's me.
Oh no, Trellis.
Oh,
I
You're
think
letting
so.
us down, man.
okay. Yeah. So, Ollie, do you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, Coach. I mean, you, of course, coach across many levels for the Victors. How important is it for you to have the same message for every team? You got younger guys in the 14U, but how important is it for you to coach the 18U like you do the 14U?
Oh, I mean, consistency. It has to be all the way across the board. The things we preach with the older guys, the same thing we preach with the younger guys. There's no letting up. There's no easy way to do it. Basketball is only one way. That's 100%. So we try to instill in those younger guys, hey, play hard, work hard, do the small things that are going to count big later on. And we preach that through 14U, 16U, 18U, and hopefully as time goes on, you'll start to see the dividends of that showing forth. But man, those young guys we got on 14U, they're a different breed. I tell them all the time. I tell my older guys, man, these younger guys, they coming after y'all, so y'all better get ready because they're ready to play.
Absolutely. Definitely seeing that right now, and I think it'll pay dividends for sure this weekend as well. Coach Cornelius, thank you very much for joining us right here on the Championship Week edition of the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show.
Thank you for having me on, Charles.
Absolutely. And now going to kind of move forward a little bit to the 18U girls bracket. And as a matter of fact, wrote a column, I did write one about that bracket, kind of detailing it out. So you can go ahead and check that out. Wait, you look surprised? You look surprised that I wrote something?
I know. Trellis is actually working for his own. Listen, folks, we all know I carried the network whenever I was there. Clearly, he felt bad for me, and he ran me off. So he did want to do that same thing with Charlie. Well, so I guess now you're writing too. I mean,
okay, yeah. Listen, man, Charlie can attest. I put him to work too, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we'll bring Charlie on later on to speak for himself. But so, the girls bracket is very interesting because the number 1 seed, the Laurel Lady Hawks, winning all the games by a lot of points. The closest game that they have had this year in a conference game was a 25-point win over PCA on the road.
Yeah.
And a game that they didn't even have Mariah Pierce playing in. So you're talking about a team that has just been absolutely dominant. We have not really seen dominance like this from the number 1 seed to, like, you're talking about the number 2 seed, everybody else. And but it gets interesting from there on out. PCA has been the best other than Laurel for sure. They're 8-2 in conference, so that's for sure. But they've had some close games. They've had some really tight games. With the Muddy River Counselors and the Meridian Flyers. Both of those teams they've had really close games with. So it should be interesting to see just kind of how that bracket goes. But like when you're a team like Laurel, we're going to talk to Coach Spradley in a little bit. I mean, you still have to make sure that you're motivated to get out there and play because there are some athletes on those other teams in the league.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to, if you're Laurel, you have to come out and you have to prove that you were that dominant. Tournament time is a completely different animal. And a lot of teams view that, you have a record, and then whenever you come to the tournament, it's all 0-0. So it's a big deal. One slip up, one bad game can put you in the losers bracket. And we all know it's tough to win out from that losers bracket.
Yes. So
I do think that the Laurel Lady Hawks, they'll come out just fine. Excuse me. They have They just have basketball smarts, and it's almost like whenever you go watch one of their games, their blood pressure never rises. They just are as even keel as it can be, and it's supreme confidence in what they can do. There's a difference in cockiness and confidence. Cockiness is thinking you can do something. Confidence is knowing you can do it, and they know that they can win this thing in a dominant fashion. So I think that Laurel is. I really am not worried about them, coming in lackadaisical and maybe slipping up and losing one of these. But PCA hopes that they can, because that's the other thing too. Coach Sean's smarter. He's been around the league long enough to know that's what PCA wants them to do. PCA, every team that plays them in this tournament is coming out with their A game because they have to. They have to be competitive, let alone win. So I do think that Laurel will come out hot, but if they don't, it could get ugly.
Yeah, and kind of looking through those first round matchups a little bit, we got the number 5 seed Scott County Flames taking on the number 4 seed Meridian Flyers, as well as the number 6 seed Muddy River Counselors taking on the number 3 seed Hattiesburg Forerunners. And what should be said there is that Scott County Meridian, the winner goes on to take on Laurel. But what's interesting about that game is Meridian lately they have been surging. They were able to win a game in district, and they've been able to play games competitively. Have had a couple competitive games with PCA. They beat the Muddy River Counselors twice, and then beat Scott County once. So that's their 3 wins in conference. They sit at that number 4 seed, and you're talking about a team that lost Emily Sherman from last year, one of the top players in the league. They came off losing another guard as well. So they weren't supposed to be very good this year, and they've been able to pull out some wins. And I would say that they're probably favored against Scott County, against the Scott County team that starting off the season, they were kind of loaded and then lost 4 of their players left the team. 4 of their top players left the team. And so now you kind of find yourself with 7 players, and they're trying to make it work. And I think they're doing a good job trying to make it work, but it's just been kind of tough for them. And so I would give Meridian the edge. But what do you think about that matchup there?
Man, I'll tell you this much. I never got the chance to go down to the district tournament and that kind of stuff. I never really got the opportunity to do that. But teams go to that tournament and they come back one of 2 ways: in shambles, or they come back better than they've ever been. I did get to see that, when we won. We won back-to-back state championships, right?
Yeah, I was
state champion. You were waiting on that, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You were waiting on me to say that, weren't you? Well,
yeah. I do believe,
So, but I did get to see those teams whenever we came back from Monroe, and just seeing, whoa, it's a different mindset. And Meridian might have that same thing where they come back and they're like, this is different. We kind of came together. Scott County, once again, that's got to hurt for players to walk out like that. Unfortunate. Something that as an organization, you really, I don't know if you can or can't help it. But I do give Meridian the edge on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And then you get the matchup, the Muddy River Counselors, Hattiesburg Forerunners. Hattiesburg, they are 5-5 in conference this season. They started off 4-0. And so the season has not gone in a good direction for them since their 4-0 start. However, though, that was kind of going to happen anyway because they backloaded their schedule. Both games against Laurel, both games against PCA were after that. Obviously, they lost those, but they also lost to the Muddy River Counselors. That was the first loss. Their first conference loss was in that game. Not one they expected. They were missing a couple of players, but they weren't expecting that after beating them by nearly 30 points the first time. You definitely, that big of a swing, that's not just losing a player or 2. That's definitely a change in how that game went. And this is the team you're playing in the first round. Now, I was kind of talking a little bit to you before the show. I don't know where does the advantage lie that the Muddy River Counselors were able to win that game in the season. You never know. It could benefit them more to have not won. What do you say?
Well, I mean, I watched when Muddy River played Hattiesburg. I think we were there, and if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's the first time, yes, when Hattiesburg won by 30.
Yeah, that's correct. My bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever you think about it, when Muddy River, when their girls coach just kind of stepped back and let the players play, they play great basketball. And
yeah,
I think that if their head coach, I don't exactly remember who it is.
Well, hey, listen. I'm associate. So
okay,
okay. The blame doesn't lie with me. I know you're trying to just take shots at me, but yes, yeah, yeah.
I will say for real though. I don't know. It is curious because I think it actually benefits Muddy River because they have confidence.
Yeah,
I think if you have confidence from that, confidence is a huge deal. Basketball is a game of runs, and that goes from game to game. That's not just for 5 minutes in the game. That goes from game to game. So if you can bring confidence into a game, especially at tournament time on neutral ground, I do think that win benefits Muddy River.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting game to see. That will be
Yeah.
tomorrow morning at 11:30, right there. But we'll go ahead and bring on Coach Sean Spradley onto the show, the head coach of the Laurel Lady Hawks, and they have not lost a conference game. Like it says, Coach, thank you for joining us. Have not lost a conference regular season game since 2021, so that's been a long time. Lost the championship last year, however, in tough fashion, and a lot of injuries, and then a good PCA team. So you got both things happening at the same time last year. Just perfect storm for y'all to lose after being undefeated in conference. How ready are your girls this year to go in and win that title back?
Man, I think they're ready. The only thing we got to do is make sure that we're not overlooking anybody, though, for sure. We've had a real good season, and we just got to keep that going, keep that intensity, and that energy up, and still got to play good against these teams. Like you guys were talking about earlier. We've got the most to lose here. So everybody's trying to knock us off, and as long as we can keep it together and just play like we've played all season, good teamwork and good intensity, good energy, good defense. I think we'll be okay. But I've got to tell them, don't overlook anybody. We've got to be ready, for anything. Like Ollie said, tournament time is basically we're starting a new season right here, and we just got to finish it out, finish strong.
Ollie.
Yeah, Coach. Whenever you watch your girls play, you really, to be honest with you, you really have two players, Holly Ensign and Mariah Pierce, that some could say you could almost run your entire offense through just those two players, but you don't. How much do you think that's weighed into the success of this season where you've got 5 weapons on the court as opposed to just 2 on offense?
I think it's a huge deal. We've in the past we've kind of gone through the post mostly, and that's where PCA had success in the tournament last season. Was they were able to shut that down pretty good, and we weren't able to shoot very good from the outside. So that's really why we lost those games. Well, the main reason we lost those games last season in the tournament. So this year, we can score from anywhere, and that's pick your poison. What are you going to shut down? What are you going to try to stop? I mean, you can't stop everybody. So.
Yeah.
Or at least it's hard to. I mean, you can obviously, but it's harder to do that than if we were one-dimensional. But I mean, I got to say, our defense, though, we've got the best defense we've ever had, in my opinion, this season. And even if we're not shooting good, our defense, if we can stuff you, then that goes a long way. Fast break layups help, right? So a lot of times our defense is our offense, But yeah, those post players are tough. It's hard to stop. You do good to stop one. If you can stop both, you're a good team. And then you got to stop, those threes or whatever coming from the outside too. It's obviously we're not the best team in the world, but we definitely have some weapons. So that certainly helps.
Absolutely, and some rankings came out today. Had y'all at 18th in the country in the homeschool realm, so that's a pretty good feat as well. You're kind of talking about how you felt like this is the best defense that you've had as coach there at Laurel. How much do you think that the good senior leadership comes into play there? Because you got your daughter Olivia Spradley, who's a very experienced player, doing very well. Your top guard, and then you got Holly Ensign, Mariah Pierce in the post seniors as well. How much do you think that has played in that?
A lot. In the front court there, we usually run a full court pressure. For the most part, at least a lot of part of the game. So, with Olivia up front, communication is key, especially on defense, and they can, switch out players and communicate well and move around. And then in the backcourt there, you got, usually Mariah and Holly, and they communicate well. And, that goes a long way because, that experience, they've played together for, 4 or 5 years. And just that experience playing together, but also, just those girls themselves, even if there's younger girls in there, they can, direct and, kind of keep everybody on the right, I guess on the right path or whatever, they can, make sure they're doing their job pretty much. And, so yeah, the senior leadership you can't replace that. I mean, that's just something that you gain obviously with experience and all. And, at one time we had a really young team and, you had none of that. It's just worlds apart to where we are now with, the experience levels that we have now. I really and truly don't really have to coach too much during the game. I can almost just sit there and watch because they pretty well know what to do. I mean, if they don't know what to do by now, we're in trouble, So, so yeah, I mean, those girls can pretty much coach the team on the court. So that's, you can't replace those, that experience.
Coach Sean, thank you for joining us on the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Trellis. See you, Ollie.
See you, Coach.
Absolutely. And so now we're going to move our focus to the 18U boys bracket. Of course, expected final. Obviously, you would expect your top 2 seeds to be in the championship, but, slow your roll. I have to see what happens here. The Muddy River Counselors, of course, the number 1 seed, undefeated in conference play. PCA number 2 with an 8-2 conference record. Their 2 losses being to the Counselors, but they had a real close one with Hattiesburg last time, a 44-40 win. Hattiesburg ended up losing to Laurel by 5. They have the same conference record. Hattiesburg winning the tiebreaker there at the 3, Laurel at the 4. So you got Laurel and Jackson, Hattiesburg, Meridian. Just some interesting stuff coming in this bracket. You would expect it to be a rematch of last year, Muddy River PCA, just opposite seating. But I mean, Hattiesburg can make some noise, and maybe even Laurel can make some noise here at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I say it a lot when it comes to tournament time. It's a different animal. Looking at these first round matchups, I really think that either one of these 4 teams can make it a game between the top 2 seeds. And so, but you got to bring your A game, of course. The top 2 seeds are pretty firmly cemented at those top 2 seeds. So you're going to have to bring something and play almost like you never have before in the season. And, that's a little bit of a difficulty for a team like Laurel, like Jackson, like Meridian, like Hattiesburg, where you almost have that unknown. Can we play to that level? You can't let that uncertainty bug you, but it's got to be there. Can we actually play to that level? And then you have the uncertainty with Muddy River and PCA. Are these guys going to come out and bring something that we haven't seen yet? I do think, though, for Muddy River, don't change one thing. Of course, why would you change it? I mean, it's been extremely successful throughout the season, and if they do their job, they'll win it just as much of a dominating fashion as they did in 16U, that they will in 18U. So I really, honestly, it's up to Muddy River. How's Muddy River going to play in this tournament? How are they going to treat it? Here's the thing, though, with those guys. They're all young children, but they play like they've been playing for 30 years. I mean, they are extremely mature in how they handle themselves on the court. And so I really don't see them coming in complacent. I think they understand the situation that they're in. They got a pretty big thing that they can do historically for this organization. It's not always that you see an organization come in and then just almost like boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, they're 18U champions. I mean, that just doesn't happen often. So Muddy River is going to dictate this tournament.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that because, in a lot of ways with the Counselors, they have totally been paying their dues over the course of the years. That first year, they went and took the beatings, like some serious beatings from the other teams in the conference. Like, I mean, getting beat by 40 by Laurel and getting beat by 30 by Meridian and 35 by Jackson. And I mean, PCA for sure. I mean, all up and down the up and down
you
the
got
standings.
Is son Michael back there behind the camera?
Oh yeah. He's back here. He's running our operation.
I just want him to remember whenever we did beat them by a lot of points, because I definitely remember whenever y'all scored about 9 million points on us. So,
well,
fair
hey,
trade.
memories are memories, But but it's very interesting though, because PCA, a very well coached team. You got the same coach. You got Tate Boggs at the point guard position, a guy who was injured for the majority of the season last year. So you really almost added him. It's almost like you added him to the
Yeah,
team.
good point.
And then
That's a great point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have Caden Kamensch, Timothy Singletary. So you got some good experience guys there. Ben Howard really has come along as well. Now he was sick over the course of last weekend. They couldn't make it to the 16U, and it kind of ended up costing them a little bit there in that bracket. But PCA, a very solid team. Very interesting to see how they'll do, but they have to bring it, because they'll play Hattiesburg. More than likely, if Hattiesburg's able to take care of business in that first round against an injured Meridian team. So, PCA and Hattiesburg should be interesting. That's a game that would likely happen tomorrow if Hattiesburg's able to win.
It was a great game too when they last time that they played. And you're talking about the experience that this group has. I mean, you just named off some names that have been in this conference long enough to not just they've played for a while. Well, these guys have played in championship games. Now, they did lose them twice. I was on the team that beat them. Now, did I play? We won't get into that. But I do have rings from it.
Into the details.
Exactly. But these guys do have experience in the bright lights of Championship Saturday. So I think that's a big deal for them, because they have PCA's champions. They got championship pedigree, man. They are just
for sure.
a juggernaut, and they're always that team that's just consistent. They're consistently going to be top 3, and they're expecting top 2, and I think that if a Muddy River PCA championship game happens, I think that would be extremely interesting to watch.
Definitely, for sure, would be interesting to watch. So today we do have coming on, joining us, Coach Ben Flint of the Laurel Nighthawks, a team that has been surging as of late. We got Coach Flint joining us, and we're glad to have him. Coach,
two-time
thank you,
varsity boys championship coach.
I mean, oh yeah, absolutely, Coach. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank y'all. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, Coach, the last couple of weeks have been good for you as a coach here. Of course, the 16U tournament kind of tough, but when it came to your 18U squad, it's been good. District, you're able to get 2 wins there at district, so that was good for your team. Also, you're able to get that win over Hattiesburg, which is probably a hump that y'all really wanted to get over before this tournament has come around. Just kind of talk about the development of your team over the course of the season.
Well, it really, y'all have said about everything that could be said, and I think it comes down to experience. We were pretty inexperienced coming in, and we've just got to where we could piece together a whole game where we rebound well, play defense well. We can move the ball and score. Early on, it was just like we could only do one thing and we couldn't piece together, but we've just been able to piece together some whole ball games and all the guys playing together. And I just chalk it up to experience. And, we go back, I think Ollie may have mentioned we had some success, and, those guys had the experience, and, these guys were trying to get there. I think they're bringing good effort, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so one player that has done very well this year, made a big jump, Brock Anderson. He's been able to exploit his advantages over the course of the year. I know he's gotten a little banged up over the course of the year, but he's given everybody in the league issues. Everybody's had to deal with Brock at a good level there. Just kind of talk about his development and how he's really stepped it up this year.
Brock works hard, and he does everything we ask him to do. He stands out in the huddle. We try to talk about something to do, and Brock's the one that's always a strong yes sir, and he's got it, and he's gonna go out there and do his best. And it's it's his hard work paying off for him, you know, and don't hurt to be tall and have some athletic ability. That goes a long way. So
Yeah.
It's his hard work paying off for him, and I'm proud for him.
For sure. Ollie?
Yeah, Coach, you got Ethan Beach handling the ball primarily this season, and he's been a little fire plug ever since day one. He walked into the gym.
Yeah.
But talk about him and growing continuity. Oh, did we lose him?
You still have him. I think he. I don't know. Coach, can you hear us? Supposed to still be here, but
I was in the middle of a great question.
That was a pretty good question. Yeah, that's a smooth question. Smooth question. But
I was doing some journalism, man.
Listen, man, you're coming in strong with the journalistic. I don't know what to say about it, but anyway, so he.
Listen, Trellis, I'm a professional play-by-play man for a college. Okay, you got to expect the A team whenever I come on. You know what I mean? I got my own show, dude. Like
absolutely,
I'm
absolutely, yeah. Off the subject is what it's called, right?
Yeah, going off subject.
Going off subject. Okay,
that I do.
Well, let me ask you this about going off subject. So on your podcast, do you just like never stay on topic? Is that what the thing is? Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, I often bring up my 2 state championships. I think that's important. But it's always fun to remind people of my success and how well I've done. Oh, he's back.
All right, Coach. Ollie, finish your wonderful question.
Let me get back to my journalism here. Okay, Coach. So of course, you got Ethan Beach handling the ball. Then you bring in a new ball handler in Hollingsworth. Talk about how Ethan. Oh no.
Hey, Coach, can you hear us?
This is a live broadcast, folks.
You know it's live. You know we didn't record this.
I don't have any sound. The whole show's.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna step aside.
I can't hear that.
Coach, can you hear us? You can't hear us.
I don't think he wants to hear you, Trellis.
Can you hear us now, Coach?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm doing this on my cell phone, and somebody called, and it monkeyed up the whole deal.
That's what I.
Okay, no, you're all good. Go ahead and finish your question, Ollie.
All right, so you got Ethan Beach, and then you got Landon Hollingsworth come in. Talk about their continuity and how well they mesh together immediately. Because I went and watched game. I mean, they're fantastic together. Talk about their ball handlers' chemistry.
Well, just fortunate to have them both. Ethan, like you said, Ollie, he's been a fireball, and he's one of them you have to try to rein him in sometimes. He can't get into a little foul trouble from time to time, but that's good because you need somebody to be that go-getter guy. And Landon, he's very balanced, and he's got a lot of experience, and he works hard. He lives close to us, and he works over here at our church regular. He's over there working hard. So I think they're different, and they both bring things that we need, and appreciate both of them. But yeah, it does. It is working, and it's nice to have one guy to take up the slack, because I think Sean was saying a while ago, if you're one dimensional, one person can be stopped. But if you got a second guy who can take up the slack, it's been really good, and they just work together pretty well, and it's their work paying off.
Absolutely, Coach. Coach, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry for the the flaw or the mix up there. Y'all have a good one. Good to see y'all.
No, it's all good. As soon as you start getting upset with people for their stuff messing up, then your stuff messes up. You know what I mean? So it's
right.
Thanks, Coach.
See y'all tomorrow. Thanks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now we will bring on Coach Willis Williams. But before we do, I want to remind all of y'all to please be sure to hit the subscribe button on the TSJW Network YouTube channel. We are approaching 1,000 subscribers. We are getting close. Please be sure to go and hit the subscribe button right now. That'll definitely help us out right now for sure. Listen, begging and pleading is how you get things done, man. Come on. Anyway, let's bring on Coach Willis. It's Coach Willis Williams of the Muddy River Counselors joining us now. And so, Coach, you're coming into the tournament. You got a 14U squad that's number 1 seed, 18U squad that's number 1 seed, and then you got a girl squad that's fighting in there, coming in at the 6th seed. Kind of talking. We're going to kind of focus on this 18U boys squad here. You play the winner of the Jackson Victors and the Laurel Nighthawks. That is the game that y'all are going to play the winner of. Just kind of speak about what y'all's mode is coming into this tournament.
Well, Ollie said it earlier. We try not to change a thing, But what we have going is it's a delicate machine, It's we have this group of guys, and it's when it comes to the ball movement and the defense and the running and the reading and all that, they do a really good job at it, and so. What manifests out there are some high IQ basketball players playing basketball really fast, and so we're not terribly big, but we're not terribly small anymore. So therefore, we're running as a pack, and it's doing well out there. It's doing well out there until we miss all our shots. And it's just hard to win a basketball game when you miss them all.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Ollie, you a question there?
Yeah, I kind of got 2 questions. The first one's really simple and really quick. We all know what the answer is going to be. Rumor has it one of your kids played for Jackson and he was okay. He was all right. But another one of your kids can dunk and he's like 5'1" and he's, 11 years old. So which one was the better basketball player?
Oh man, tough question. Better basketball, like if you're, define the word better.
I mean, I think if your name is Son Michael, you're better.
Well, look, he can do some of the things better, but so Michael could rip that shot out of Trellis's bag. He would. He'd sneak in the middle of the night and just steal the bag. He would.
All right. Son Michael for MVP. But my second question is, the tournament's kind of got spread out a little bit this year. You got a lot of, overlapping with 16U and 18U, and weird I'm saying this, 14U as well with your 18U players. How much do you think that's going to benefit you guys with having a lot of rest coming into this this weekend?
Well, just in particular, yes. We've had overlap for years. Lord willing, one day, we have enough to fuel them all in a equally as successful go. But it is interesting how the homeschool basketball landscape kind of changed when even through your years, Ollie. It definitely changed since Trellis was there. When Trellis was there, it was you had these it's before all they really elevated the district tournament and made these, and then it got to where these the regionals and the nationals, and they had been around for a while, but they kind of got more just kind of got more in the focus, and all of a sudden it's like you're dealing with what you had. Like, for instance, I got 16 boys players. Yeah, I've got some 12U guys that would be like, I think that with them it's 23. with the 12U guys. But as far as 14U through 18U, I got 16 guys. So that means I dressed out 10 for the 16U. So and they were good. They were really good. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I get down to the 10th guy. He's still really good. Praise the Lord. With the 14U, I've got 4 of those guys. 4 of them. Where's my hand here? 4 of them. And so that means the 12U guys are there with those 4 guys, and it just so happens that one of them is 6'3", and then one of them is a good improving, like real strong Isaac Viverka, and then one of them's Luke. I mean, and then we got Noah, and Noah's getting to where his shot. I mean, like if you mess around and let him shoot, he's going to score a bunch of points on you. So he can handle and everything else. So Noah is coming up too, but then I got these 12U guys, and they got heart, man. I got some little guys with some serious energy. Man, praise the Lord for all of that, which makes so Ollie, this year I got 7 seniors. 7 seniors, like that's unheard of. You know what I mean? So I mean, a few of them are 3 of them are kind of like rookie seniors, like so they're one and done, and they're a part of this team's personality, and they're huge. We love them, and at practice, they're getting better. To me, like these guys are getting better at basketball.
Yeah,
it's just
they are.
Clock kind of ran out. On them because they don't have. And it's hard to get acclimated to a team and get to doing what they're doing and all that stuff in one season. So, but then man, got Rydell graduating, what I'm saying, and got Justin graduating, got William graduating. So, like, man, these guys mean a lot to us, and so we're gonna. It's gonna be it's kind of gotta be an emotional go. I mean, y'all been through. Look, after Trellis' last game, Ollie, I don't know if you know this, man. He cried like a baby.
That was years ago. I mean, I don't think I was even born yet.
He was still a baby.
But anyway, that was, I mean, years and years ago.
Yeah, years and years ago.
But the thing is about this counselor's team, I mean, I don't know, man. If I don't know how many people watching this or they're going to watch this show that watched Trellis's broadcast of when we played the Faulkner Falcons, and we had a really good game. We let it slip through our fingers. A lot of just a lot of mistakes in the clutch, including myself, especially myself. You know what I mean? Should have kind of got me a timeout. Should have got him on the same page, but I let him run it out and missed free throws and things like that. But after that game, so Michael, man, he that, like, man, that didn't sit well. You know what I mean? And like the thing about it is, you play basketball and you love to win, right? I mean, you always love to win, but at the same time, it's a game, so it's not it's not the centrality of life. You know what I mean? It's something that we do, something that we enjoy. But then these guys, my guys are they're right now they're being really successful playing, okay, and it's fun. But then you realize that losing hurts, man.
Yeah,
it hurts.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, man. You get yourself all set up, and then it's like, okay, just like Sean said, hey, they got the most to lose, and like that's what I feel like. It makes me nervous, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade it. I certainly enjoy it. Lord for it.
Absolutely. And so you guys will get started tomorrow. Tomorrow you take on the winner of the Jackson Victors and the Laurel Nighthawks. Coach Willis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
See you,
absolutely.
Good to be on the show with you, Ollie.
Coach Willis, you hold a special place in my heart. You're the last opponent I ever shook the hand of in my last game. So, Coach Willis, it was great to compete against you for all those years.
On that note, that was last year, right?
Yes, sir.
And, man, that was an interesting go because this was just a little anecdote. Probably not even an anecdote. I got to look up that word. But anyway, so last year, Hattiesburg knocked us off. Okay, they knocked us off, and so we went over there. But what was cool is that we ended up being the last game for quite a few seniors that year. You know, so I mean, it's interesting that it happened like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like just it was the victors, and then you guys, of course, you guys almost sent us home crying. Seriously, and then even when they beat us, there was still a few of those guys, like Drew, man, like how many battles with Drew have we had,
Yeah, a lot of them.
Anyway, thank y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, for sure. And so we have coming up, of course, our contributor, and our contributor is probably sitting over there being like, man, hold on a second. But at the same time, we're bringing on the contributor, Charlie Cotton. He wrote a column this week kind of previewing this tournament here to end off. And Charlie, thank you for joining us. And first thing I want to kind of put out there is you were talking about just how interesting it was. We've talked about this already. You guys are right there in the thick of it. You guys could compete with a lot of different teams in this league and have some good games there. Your first game is going to be against Meridian, but just kind of talk about how this tournament is when it comes to how close it is in certain areas.
Yeah, it's first off, this show has been like a W show. Like, this show has been great.
Good.
But like talking about the tournament and stuff like that, it's close all around because you never know what's going to happen. I know we've already mentioned this. We're starting over at 0. You never know what's going to happen because everybody's just playing. They're just playing their best. At the end of the day, like, it's coming to an end. So if you're going to do something, you're going to do it now because you're not going to have another chance. So a lot of players, they get confidence from that. I know I always play better in tournaments. I don't know exactly why, but I just do. And I'm sure other players feel the same way. But yeah, like us and Meridian, like, we have to be on our toes every single game. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We have to be on our toes. Meridian could come out and start hitting shots like I know they can. Same thing with Jackson and Laurel and PCA and Muddy River. So, and anybody that we're going to be playing. Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw that in the 16U tournament with Meridian playing Laurel. And I know that was 16U, a little bit different, but I mean, Laurel shocked by that with Meridian's play there.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, was it double OT?
It was one overtime, but yeah, 43-41. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Meridian's really stepping up here, and I'm really surprised by Meridian. They should be proud of all they're doing, especially, Cooper Franklin's breaking his foot. I mean, they've had some struggles, and then they're still pushing through all that, and they're still like coming out here strong. You got to give them props and respect for that. And then Laurel coming over and beating us, and obviously we're not happy about that game, officiating wise, and all kinds of other stuff too.
What are you talking about? I was there. It was completely fair.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So coming up, we appreciate you writing the columns every week. That's available on the TSJW Network website, tsjwnetwork.net. Also, Tate Boggs wrote an article for PCA. That's on there as well. That's the third one in addition to the column I wrote as well. So we got a trivia section today, and this time I wanted to ask y'all what y'all thought about it. Maybe even have some guests, like a little bit of a little bit of communication. I've been saying it to myself, and I lost interest in talking to myself, but now I get to ask some people. You know what I mean? So the question, so in league history, there is one coach who has coached in every season's championship game in a particular division. So you take the divisions like 16 boys, 18 boys, 18 girls, all those are different divisions. In a particular division, this coach has coached in the championship game every single season. What coach is this and what division? So, Ollie, man, what you say?
Man, that's a good question. Oh,
Charlie, you got an answer.
I'm gonna have to pass it over to Chuck.
I was gonna go with whatever Ollie said. So.
Oh man, yeah. Hey,
you got us.
Basically, I am talking to myself. Okay, we'll go with what? What will we go with?
Oh man. I don't know, dude. I really don't know.
Well, look, I'm gonna have to give the answer. Look, we had a hint. We had him on the show here today. It's Coach Willis Williams.
Whoa! Wow,
He is
Willis
coached
used to be a
every
game show host, dude. That was awesome.
Yes. He has coached every 14U boys championship game in the history of the MSAHA.
Are you serious?
Every one. So the first one, 2015-2016, is the Jackson Victors. He's coaching that one every single year. If you go down the line, he hasn't won them all, but he's been in every single one, every championship game for 14U. Yes, because he coached the younger guys on the Victors. So yes, crazy stat there, but we'll see if it continues this year. We'll have to. That is yet to be seen, but an interesting trivia section here today. I didn't even realize that till I was looking for some facts. But unbelievable. But folks, we appreciate you joining us. Charlie, of course, appreciate you joining us as well. And Charlie again is a guard for. Wait, would you say you're a guard or a forward? I guess is the question.
I'm a shooting guard. I'm a shooting guard.
You're a shooting guard, yes.
Yeah.
Guard for the Hattiesburg Forerunners, the number 3 seed. They first game for them will be against the Meridian Flyers tomorrow morning. Should be interesting to see if they win that game. They will take on the PCA Paladins later tomorrow in the afternoon. We've got games right here tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff for you. The MSAHA playoffs on the TSJW Network YouTube channel. We'll be streaming multiple various things over the course of the weekend. So just stay tuned. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button to the TSJW Network YouTube channel. And folks, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ali, for joining us as a co-host. And thank you, Charlie, of course, for being our contributor.
Of course.
Man, it felt great. It felt great coming back. I forgot my ring. It's in my my bedside table. I forgot it.
Okay.
And I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that I forgot it. But I did not forget. If I did forget, I'll mention it one more time. I've won back-to-back state championships.
Yes.
So thought I'd mention it.
Okay, that's good. That's just wonderful. Folks, we appreciate you joining us, and thank you all for joining us. Of course, I'm Trellis Williams. We appreciate Michael Williams. He did our graphics, did the background stuff for the show.
The GOAT.
And we are looking forward to this weekend in Hattiesburg. We'll be live for you right here. This is the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. We out.